people who were asking questions and wanted to know why I wasn't answering, but I wasn't able to. I was either in a coma half the time, or in an oxygen tent, or having my lungs cleaned daily. I was struck by infection, and one end of the stick to the other. It was a very difficult situation health-wise. But I survived it by the grace of God and my team and my friends who have helped nurse me back to health. It's a reality that I had to deal with. A lot of people recently, who only recently found out about this, have said, well, why didn't I come out publicly with some announcement? Because if I would have done that, there are people that would have spun this information and said that I was doing it as a publicity stunt. Well, that's why we didn't talk about it. That's one of the reasons. The other reason was I was so sick and crippled by what happened. My own team didn't know whether I was going to survive or not, and at that point everything was on hold. Everything. So that's the reason nothing came out about it initially, and I'm only talking about it now briefly to give you and the public some information to know that this is why I wasn't able to continue to communicate. If there's anything that I've done, it's to communicate. All of my life, all of this time, for the last 13 years. And there are those who want to make you believe that I'm hiding under some rock somewhere and afraid to talk to people. I've never stopped talking about this. I've never been afraid. And I'm not afraid now. Even after what happened, I'm not afraid now. Because people have a right to know, and I have a right to talk about this. It's my truth, it's my life, and it was my experience. And for anybody who stands up and says, well, I think I would have done it differently, or I don't think that that's necessarily quite the way it was, I say, bullshit. You weren't there, I was. And it's time people get a real understanding that this isn't a debate. This is what happened to me in my life. This is my reality. If you don't want to hear it, don't listen. If you want to have your own lecture, go have your own lecture. But I'm talking to the people who asked me to give them information. I'm not trying to convince anybody of anything. I'm just telling people what happened to me. And that's all.
Hey, can I ask this of you? I've talked to you before, and you've told me about some of the damage that they've done physically, and you said outright you don't even want to talk about it because you don't want people to think you're going for sympathy. But I really, truly, honestly believe that they need to hear the physical damage that has been done to you. I mean, you whitewash over it, and you're real vague about it. But I really would like for you to go on camera and talk about this stuff. I think it's important. I really do. I mean, I understand your position on it, but people need to know that this actually this is what happened to you. They need to hear this. Can you go into some details?
Since this happened in 1996, people have come forward and offered to help in probably every aspect that anybody could imagine help. They've offered me vehicles to use, houses to stay in, food, clothes on my back, help to run websites, to answer email, to work in some one form or another in helping us produce venues for people to listen to this information. I respect and highly thank all of those people, all the people who have supported me. Some of the things that people don't realize is this is 2009. And in the last 13 years, 9 people are dead because they offered to help me. They gave everything to help me. Dead is dead. Dead is not an illusion. My friend Gary, when all this first went down, other people that I wrote about in the book, Dolly, even some of my own family members have been stressed to the point, I believe, of death because of the badgering and harassment that was brought down on my family and people who tried to help me. Every aspect of evil has been wielded at me and people who have set out to support me within my team, within my group. People have fallen and more people have joined. At one time or another, I've decided to quit because of this. I've said it wasn't worth it. I'm not going to take anybody else's life with me. And people have picked up the sword and pushed me forward to continue. All the people who write to us, who send letters encouraging that somebody needs to be a voice for those who have had contact. And that's why I'm continued. That's why. Because they took everything else away from me. They left me with nothing. I had no other option. I couldn't go back to my old way of life because they took it away. They destroyed my career, my credentials, my financial rewards that I had gathered over a period of 20 years. They destroyed all of that. The reason is because they left me with no tools. They left me naked, without a way to survive, thinking that I would go crazy or just be the fool in the eye of the public. They've done everything from harass my mother and father, who were elderly people that have since died, to torturing me. Now, what constitutes torture? That's a very personal thing. Some people would say, well, it's they're harassing you, they're calling you a liar. Well, that's a form of torture. That's psychological. But what do you call it when somebody takes a steel spike, ties you to a chair, and shoves it through your testicle? What do you call that? Where's the validity? Where's the support of the naysayers that say, oh, well, that would never happen. They wouldn't do that. I mean, where's the humanity? People don't know. People don't realize. I realize in talking to groups all over the world that there are guidelines that I try to meet in with respect to the audience that I'm speaking to. I realize that some people only come because they're interested in the phenomena. But right now we're talking about a reality of life and death. We're talking about torture. We're talking about the pursuit of trying to silence information, which is the same thing that was done in World War II in trying to extinguish a race of people for a different set of ideas. Now, I don't see that as much different than what's going on with me. I am up against a